Did you know that you were born with three superpowers? Unless you were a naturally gifted athlete or a math whiz or maybe a talented prodigy with music or art, you probably aren't aware of your gift, but we're all born with gifts. And the thing is that there are certain abilities that you were born with that are really phenomenal in their ability to shape and change your life. But because our culture doesn't recognize, acknowledge, and nurture those qualities like we do with someone who's a math whiz or a natural athlete, they've been lost, they've been suppressed, and you've probably forgotten all about them. In this video, I am going to share with you what those three superpowers are and how you can use them to build up and enhance your life. Hi, my name is Valerie, and I'm an energy healer and spiritual healer. I help people recover from the effects of trauma and convert their life from just surviving to truly thriving. I myself am a trauma survivor. I had a childhood that was full of all kinds of trauma and have experienced emotional, physical, sexual abuse, the gamut. And I have, in the last 10 to 15 years on my spiritual and healing journey, truly feel like I have recovered from the effects of trauma. It's something that I live with, but I do it, I embrace it, I do it with joy, and I have a life that's full of purpose and meaning. And part of that purpose is to help others along the way, so you don't have to make some of the same mistakes that I did. One of the things, what I want to share with you in this video is one of the things that I've discovered is that we have these three natural superpowers that we're born with. And because our culture, our society, or maybe your ethnicity, your family, your religion, whatever the conditions of your upbringing are or were, they are not acknowledged, they're not encouraged. In fact, they're repressed and discouraged. And so your number one superpower that you were born with was intuition. I'm an intuitive healer, but it took me a long time to recognize and embrace my intuitive abilities. And now I use them to help just not myself in my life, but in my clients that I work with. And everybody has this ability to tap into your inner knowing. Our culture, our society, especially in the Western world, is so focused on one way of knowing and understanding the world that the intuitive way of knowing is discounted. I'm sure you can relate to this if anyone ever told you when you're a kid, oh, that's just your imagination. That is disempowering and taking away your gift. Because imagination, and I'm sure there's a subtle difference, but I'm sure you get what I'm saying. If like, you can close your eyes and I say, imagine a pink rose, and you can imagine a pink rose. But if you spontaneously, for no reason, got an image in your mind of a pink rose, where did that come from? That's coming from your intuition. Our intuition communicates with us in many, many ways. It comes through similar channels as imagination. Imagination is something that you create with your own mind. Intuition is something that comes through your mind from your higher self or spirit or the universe or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it. So intuition is your number one superpower, and you can nurture and develop that. Just like some people are just naturally born with, I don't know, a musical talent. Maybe they're just, a musical prodigy. Everybody has some ability to at least listen to and appreciate music. If you want to, you can study music. You can take, maybe take piano lessons or singing lessons or go to the opera and the symphony. it's what you want to make of it. And you may or may not have that natural latent gift, but you do have the ability. And how would you ever discover that you had that gift if no one ever even acknowledged or encouraged or nurtured your early expressions of it? And this is what happens with our intuition. Um, Perfect example for me is I remember having, when I was a kid, and most kids do, I had imaginary friends. Um, they were very real to me. They came to my they came to my bedroom and talked to me at night, and I would tell friends, family about that, and they would say, "Oh, that's cute, honey. That's just an imaginary friend. That's not a real thing." And so I stopped doing that. I stopped working with that, and it wasn't until, no, geez, probably maybe it was early in my spiritual awakening. One of the things that I did is I just went on, I don't know, meetup or something, and I was in a new city. I didn't know anybody. I was feeling pretty ungrounded and uncertain of myself. I've been through a lot. I was in the initial stages of my trauma recovery, and I signed up for this intuition class. And I remember one of the very first activities that we did, and it seemed like this is really weird. This isn't going to work. This is lame. The teacher had us put like little spots of color on a piece of paper. And then I don't know, we somehow randomized it. Like we made these little spots on the paper, and then we switched them around with our eyes closed, like you traded yours with someone else. And then she instructed us to just put our hands over the paper with our eyes closed. We were blindfolded, and find the yellow. I'm like, wait, this is crazy. What? How do you? But I just kind of trusted her, and I went along with it. And I remember, I don't know how I knew, but I literally, and the paint was still wet, I put my finger in the yellow paint, and I pulled the blindfold off, and I looked, and there was yellow paint on my finger. This is just an example of what I'm getting at here is you have this latent ability. You can nurture it. You can grow it. And you may even discover, like I did, that I actually have a talent for it. So, superpower number 2, this is again something that we're all born with, is healing. You have the ability to heal yourself. Even doctors who are more open-minded will acknowledge the superior ability of the body to heal itself. They can help it, they can encourage it, but it wasn't that long ago that we didn't have Western modern medicine that we have today, and we used a lot more different approaches and modalities. And when it comes right down to it, if you cut yourself like a little scratch on your arm, you don't go running to the doctor. You don't need someone to help you heal that. If you keep it clean so it doesn't get infected, it's just going to heal. Your body knows how to do that. We all have this innate ability in our physical body to heal, and we also have that ability energetically. Again, this is something that I didn't know was a talent of mine because nobody identified it, encouraged it, nurtured it. Nobody took me aside as a 6-year-old and said, you seem to have healing hands. Let's have you work with a healer. And what's weird is I actually grew up in a family, my parents were Wiccan, and they were very into the metaphysical and the woo-woo stuff. And I remember one time being sick, and we were allowed to go into my parents' bedroom when we were sick, and so I got to sleep in their bed, and they had some people over, and this lady came in and sat down on the bed next to me. My mom had sent her in to see me because she was a healer, and I had a talk with her, and she did a healing, and I slept, and I felt better the next day. So it's not like it was outside of the realm, but even at that, my parents, we were still in, suburban modern America, and I went to public school, and it just never was nurtured, never recognized. They never, they never considered, I don't think it occurred to them, even though they worked with healing modalities themselves. I do remember, though, the very first time that I consciously did healing for another person. I was at Girl Scout camp. I was 7, maybe 8 years old. So it was the summer after second grade, so I think I was about 8 years old. And I went to Girl Scout camp, and they did this, I don't know, kind of a secret buddy system, like a secret Santa, where you got the name of another kid in the camp, and this was your secret buddy, and you're supposed to like write them secret messages and maybe leave a little gift on their bunk, blah blah blah, like that. Well, I still remember the little girl that was my secret buddy. Her name was Emily, and she had really bad allergies and I think some other health problems, like maybe asthma or something. She spent quite a bit of time in the nurse's cabin. And so nobody told me what to do or how to do it, and I don't know how I did. Again, it was intuition. Right down the hill behind the cabin where I was, there was a little swamp, and I went down there and I cut cattails and the little round stalks of the cattails, and I put them together and I made a doll. And then I took leaves and grasses and things and made clothes for the doll. And then I held it in my hands, and I just imagined that I was putting healing energy into the doll with my hands, kind of like that healer had done for me when I was sick. But I put him into the doll. And then when she was gone at the nurse's cabin one day, I left that for her on her bunk. And I never told anybody about that because I thought it was too weird. It's the programming, it's the conditioning of our society and everything that's going on around us. If I had been in a different culture, in a different time, in a different place, I probably, and been able to feel like that was okay, that what I was doing was okay and not weird. Somebody might have known, somebody might have acknowledged it. As it wasn't until, okay, if I was 8, at least 4 decades later, more than 4 decades later, before somebody in a session, it was actually the first time I ever went to a healer, identified me, and she said, "Oh, you have healing abilities." And I'm like, "Who? Huh? Me? What?" But sure enough, now 10 years later, here I am, and that is what I do, and it's so empowering to be seen and to be recognized and be like, "Oh, you're good at this. Let me pay you money for it." It's wild. So everybody has that ability. You might think, well, that doesn't apply to me, but if you even think about, like, when you're a little kid and you fall down and you scrape your knee, what's the first thing you do? Ah! And you put your hands on it. That's your healing instinct. Your body is instantly sending endorphins to numb the pain. Your blood cells are getting active and sending things to fight off dirt and infection, and you automatically, with your hands, are sending energy to that place to support it because it's been injured. So that is number 2 on the list of your 3 superpowers. If you choose to, if it's something that you feel drawn to or interested in, you can learn about that. You could read up about it. You could watch YouTube videos about it. You could check out my website and find out about taking classes. Everybody has the innate ability, whether or not it's your given gift, like a spiritual gift that you are a gifted healer. That is only something that you would ever know if you even looked into it, if you even experimented with it or tried. So number 3 on my list I have here, and this is something I mentioned in my previous video, such an important superpower. And I tell people this all the time, like, this is my superpower. Metacognition is my superpower. And they go like, what? Metacognition? Metacognition just means thinking about thinking. Or really what it's saying is being aware of your thoughts. So intuition is the receiving mode, right? This is how we get input from wherever you imagine we get input from: inspiration, your muse, your spirit guides, God, spirit, the universe, whatever. That's intuition, is how we receive information. Healing is a way that we can use that information, but thinking is how we transmit. Your experience in life is the manifestation of your thinking. If you are a predominantly upbeat, positive thinking person, you probably have, and I'm sure you've probably known people like this, like, why are they so fucking happy all the time? And why is their life so good? Like, they are happy because their life is good. What we don't see or value, what we're not taught, and we should be teaching this in kindergarten on up, is that you see this person who seems to live a charmed life and you think, oh, that's why they're happy. Actually, they're living a charmed life because they're happy. They're thinking positive thoughts. If this is triggering for you right now, I want you to sit with it for a minute, because it may be triggering because it's true. I lived with depression, clinical diagnosed depression, most of my life. And it's not fun. And for someone to tell you, it reminds me of my favorite movie, The Wizard of Oz. It's like, oh, the wizard doesn't really give the Tin Man a heart because he's the one that was like the most caring, nurturing, loving one all along, right? Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have, right? You already have the power. You hold the power within you to change your life. It wasn't until I moved out to California from my home in Minnesota about, it's coming up on 6 years ago, that I came across the writings of Ernest Holmes. And he wrote a book called Science of Mind, and I'm not going to get into that because that could be a whole different channel. But this is kind of the origin of this philosophy that you may have heard of through names such as Mike Dooley, Reverend Michael Beckwith, Louise Hay. These are all science of mind practitioners. I don't know if they're all licensed. Louise Hay was a licensed practitioner. I'm a licensed practitioner. I've studied it. I landed in San Diego and landed in a science of mind center, and it so resonated with me that I just couldn't get enough of it and just took all the classes until I was a practitioner. But it's all about, thoughts are things, and the state of your mind is what determines your experience. What we see around us is only one version of reality, and it's not as fixed as we tend to think. And so if you can start to begin to nurture your metacognitive abilities, is first to just become aware. When you catch yourself, for example, if you're feeling triggered, or if you're ruminating and you're just, you get those thoughts in your head that just go over and over and over, and you just have this thought in your head, and you become aware that you're thinking that thought. Who's doing the thinking and who's aware of that thought. Be the observer. Put a degree of separation between you and your thinking. You are not your thoughts. You are having a thought. And you can attach to it and hang on to it, or you can let it go and just let it drift on by. Or better yet, once you become aware of the thought, is to replace it with something better. There's lots of ways and methods to do this. I started early on taking a class, and they had us keep a thought journal. Like literally every time you have a negative thought, write it down. Date, time, thought. Date, time, thought. And pretty soon you'll be like, you'll see it there. It's almost like charting your symptoms. You'll see it there in black and white. Like, wow, I'm really thinking negative things a lot. And you'll be amazed at how many negative things you are thinking about yourself. So that's a place to begin. I wanted to give you a quick example of how this has really outpictured in my own life. Not that long ago, I think it was this past spring, maybe about March, I've been trying for about 5 years to build a business, and I started to feel like I was just starting to get some traction. I was holding some healing circles, and getting ready to teach a class in healing, and then COVID happened. Well, I wound up teaching the class, but it had to be online, and I wound up trying to do healing circles, but remotely it wasn't the same experience. Anyway, so the whole pandemic thing kind of waylaid me. And this past winter, like I'm thinking, okay, 2023, this has got to be the year to make it or break it. Like I'm going to get this business off the ground and really start living the life that I envisioned for myself, or maybe I need to rethink it. I was starting to have doubts. And what I became aware of this spring as I was starting to try to take action and put pieces in place was I became aware of this thought pattern that I had where I kept putting things off because like, gosh, I don't know if I should do that because what if I go back to Minnesota? Like, I should probably have a new car. Dang, I hate to have a car payment. What if I go back to Minnesota? I don't want to be saddled with a car payment. Or maybe I should go online and try online dating again. I don't want to get stuck in a relationship, start a relationship. What if I go back to Minnesota? I mean, there were so many little things like buying a new comforter for my bed, for crying out loud, or whether or not to get a pet. All of these things I was saying, no, I don't know if I should do that. What if I have to go back to Minnesota? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a real pattern. I need to replace that. And so what I did is I recommitted myself to my power, passion, and purpose of being a healer that helps people who have had traumatic experiences in their past like I have, so that kind of be a guide to show them this is how I did it, this is the way. And I wrote it, I did a kind of a little recommitment ceremony for myself, and I started taking action. I got a cat, I got a new car, I got a new comforter for my bed, I put a profile up on a dating site, and I kid you not, within about 3 days, things took off. I had 3 people in one Sunday afternoon approach me and ask me, one person wanted a practitioner session, another person hired me for a healing session, and a new family hired me to come and do a blessing and clearing ceremony in their home. All on the same day. I am now busier than I have ever been. I just signed a lease on a new space for holding healing sessions, so that I'm not trying to do it out of my car and going to people's homes. I can have a place where people can come to me. Yeah, things have just completely opened up and accelerating because I changed that negative pattern of thought in my mind. So that is what I wanted to share with you, my friends. Those are your 3 superpowers. You have intuition, you have healing ability, and you have the ability to develop metacognitive powers, to be aware of your thinking. And if you change your thinking, you can change your life. Those are 3 really essential tools for me in my healing journey. I hope you find them helpful. If you want to know more, check out my website. I'd be happy to talk to you, and possibly if you're interested in a class or working together, that would be great. I'd also love to get your comments. So if you enjoyed this video, you'd like to see more, or if there's something in particular you'd like to know more about, leave a comment down below, and be sure to hit like and subscribe. I'm going to be posting once a week, so if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications when my new video comes out. So great talking to you. I hope you found this helpful. Peace. Namaste.